Let me take you back for a moment. Back before skyscrapers, before cars, before screens and algorithms dictated our every move. Back to when the world was quieter, and people looked to the stars, the winds, and yes, the animals for guidance. In those times, wisdom wasn't just found in books or voices. It was found in the rustling of the leaves, the flap of wings overhead, the croak of a frog on a rainy night. People understood something we often forget. Nature speaks, and when it does, it's often telling us something about ourselves, about what's coming, and sometimes about blessings that are already on the way. Across cultures, east to west, north to south, animals have always carried spiritual meaning. They were never just background noise in the world. In many traditions, they were symbols, messengers, omens. And not all omens are warnings. Some are gifts. Some of these animals, when they show up unexpectedly, are believed to be carrying with them the promise of abundance, of unexpected financial blessing, of wealth, not just in the form of money, but in energy, opportunity, and breakthrough. Let's think about this. Why would so many different cultures, separated by language and distance, agree on the same idea? That an animal can bring wealth into a household, that its presence is more than biological or coincidental, it's spiritual? The answer lies in human intuition. There's something that happens deep in the soul when certain animals cross our path. A nudge, a spark, a knowing. It's as if the universe is speaking in a language older than words. These animals don't just come to visit. They come as signs. They come as confirmations. And if we're wise, we don't ignore them. We don't chase them away. You see, in Chinese culture, the frog is not just a creature that loves water. It's a powerful symbol of prosperity, especially when it enters the home uninvited. In some African traditions, the sudden appearance of a lizard near your doorway isn't something to be feared. It's a reminder that change is coming, and it's coming with wealth. In Indian households, a butterfly fluttering inside is often seen as a visitor from the divine, bringing good news and fortune. Over and over again, these creatures show up not just in nature, but in the stories and beliefs passed down for generations. Even in biblical times, animals were used as vessels of divine communication. God chose a donkey to speak, a dove to descend, ravens to deliver food. Not because animals were magical, but because they were available, open, undistracted. When they showed up, people paid attention. They knew something important was being signaled, and so must we. Now I can hear someone say, well, that's just old superstition, isn't it? And I would say this: what you call superstition, someone else calls discernment. What you call coincidence, someone else calls confirmation. We've become so skeptical that we miss miracles right in front of us. We miss the wealth, not because it isn't there, but because it didn't come in the form we expected. It didn't wear a suit. It didn't arrive in a direct deposit. It came with wings or fur or 6 tiny legs tapping at our windowsill. Let me ask you, what if your next breakthrough came crawling? What if it buzzed in through the back door? What if it was sitting right there in your garden, just waiting for you to notice? You might laugh. You might swat it away. Or worse, you might kill the very sign that was meant to tell you abundance was knocking. We've all heard stories. Someone sees a bird appear just before they get a job offer. A cricket chirps persistently the night before a windfall. A spider builds a web across the door, and the next day a new opportunity walks through it. Coincidence or confirmation? That's not for me to decide, but I will say this. When you start tuning your spirit, when you start listening not just with your ears, but with your heart, the world becomes alive with meaning. You stop dismissing and start discerning. You stop chasing away the messengers and start welcoming the message. So many times we pray for provision, we ask for breakthrough, we seek financial increase, and yet, when the first signs arrive, we overlook them because they don't look like we imagined. But what if these animals, these humble visitors, are part of the answer we've been praying for? What if they are heaven's way of saying, it's on the way? Let that sink in. Sometimes the first sign of wealth isn't a number in your bank account. It's a frog on your porch. A butterfly on your curtain, a spider spinning something sacred in the corner of your ceiling. Don't chase it away. Now that we understand how cultures across the world have long viewed animals as messengers of something greater, let's talk about something that goes even deeper. The energy they carry. And I don't mean this in some abstract, out there kind of way. I'm talking about something real. Something you can feel the moment they arrive. Something that shifts the atmosphere without anyone saying a word. I call it wealth energy. You can walk into a room and feel when something's off, right? You don't have to see anything wrong, but your spirit knows. That same sensitivity can recognize when something right is arriving too. And animals, especially certain ones, have a way of carrying that kind of presence with them. When they show up unexpectedly, there's often a shift, not because they're magical, but because they're aligned. They're in harmony with something we can't always see, but can definitely sense if we're paying attention. Some animals carry a kind of energy that awakens something in the human spirit. It's subtle, but powerful. Like when a butterfly lands quietly nearby, suddenly everything slows down. Or when a small bird taps at your window out of nowhere, your focus shifts. You might not be able to explain it, but you feel it. A sort of alertness, a rise in awareness. It's like your soul is saying, this means something. Wealth energy doesn't always announce itself with trumpets. It doesn't always come with a knock on the door and someone handing you a check. Sometimes it comes through a creature small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. But the feeling it leaves behind, that's anything but small. You see, these animals don't choose homes randomly. There's a reason they come to certain places, certain people, certain moments. Homes that are open in spirit. Homes that have been praying, waiting, preparing. Homes where the atmosphere is ready for something new, something better, something blessed. And when that animal shows up, it's like a confirmation that your space, your energy, your faith, your preparation, it's all aligned. Some people miss this because they're looking for lightning bolts. They're waiting for signs that shout. But often the most powerful signs whisper. They glide, they hum, they crawl. And when a creature arrives in your home with that kind of quiet power, don't miss it. Don't swat it away because it doesn't fit the image of how you thought blessing would look. Wealth energy isn't just about finances either. It's about a shift, a new direction, a flow that wasn't there before. And these animals, whether they fly, creep, or crawl, are carriers of that shift. When they visit, they bring with them the suggestion that something is breaking loose, that something is moving on your behalf, that something good, something prosperous is already in motion. Now let me tell you this. People think wealth is only numbers, figures, and bank accounts. But real wealth? It's energetic. It's spiritual. It's relational. It's when peace starts filling your house again. When your ideas start flowing. When you find favor where there used to be resistance. That's wealth. That's increase. That's the kind of thing no market can measure. And sometimes that kind of wealth walks in on 6 legs. Or it chirps in the corner of the room while you're trying to fall asleep. Or it appears at your window just long enough to grab your attention and leave you wondering, why today? It's not random. It's resonance. The animals responding to something in your space, something in your spirit. And if your heart is open, you'll recognize that it's more than a visit. It's a sign. What I'm saying is this. When that unexpected guest arrives, be it a spider spinning a perfect web in the corner of your ceiling, or a frog showing up on your porch after a rainstorm, take a moment before you react, before you reach for a broom or shoo it away. Pause. Feel. Ask yourself, what might this mean? Not in fear, but in curiosity, in faith, in gratitude. Because here's what I've seen again and again. These encounters often come right before a shift, right before provision appears, right before that long-awaited phone call, that opportunity, that restoration, that breakthrough. It's as if the visit from the animal is heaven's way of saying, get ready, something is about to change. It's not about worshipping animals. It's about recognizing timing. It's about understanding signs. It's about being spiritually awake enough to discern the difference between a pest and a prophet, between a nuisance and a nudge from the divine. So the next time you find one of these creatures making its way to your doorstep, your window, your living room, don't rush to chase it away. Don't be so quick to brush off the moment, because that animal may be carrying more than you see. It may be carrying wealth, not just for your pocket, but for your purpose. Don't miss the shift. So now we've opened our eyes to the ancient wisdom, how different cultures and spiritual traditions have long believed that animals can carry signs of wealth. We've also talked about the energy they bring when they show up uninvited, and how sometimes that energy is the very first signal that something in our lives is about to shift. But let's go deeper now. Let's talk about the ones that come with a special kind of message. A message that says, I'm not just visiting, I'm carrying something with me. There are 8 animals, 8 humble, often overlooked creatures that tend to show up when a breakthrough is near. I call them the sacred 8. They don't roar or flash or demand attention. In fact, many people would dismiss them or try to get rid of them. But if you really pay attention, if you listen with your spirit, you'll start to understand they're not just there by accident. Each of these creatures has a history, a pattern, a message, and often that message is tied to wealth, abundance, opportunity, or divine provision. The first one is the frog. Yes, that little creature that hops near your doorstep, especially after the rain. In many ancient traditions, frogs are seen as symbols of transformation, fertility, and new life. In Egypt, they were sacred. In Chinese culture, they are linked directly to prosperity, especially when they come to your home. And you've probably noticed something yourself. Frogs don't appear just anywhere. They come where the environment is clean, moist, and welcoming. When a frog shows up, it's often a signal that your environment, your spiritual and emotional atmosphere is becoming fertile ground for increase, for something new to be born. Next is the butterfly. Oh, there's something holy about a butterfly. Something soft and quiet, but undeniable. Butterflies are symbols of change, of metamorphosis, of beauty unfolding from struggle. When a butterfly enters your home or flutters close in a way that grabs your attention, it's not just decoration. It's a spiritual reminder that your transformation is working, that the time you've spent in the dark, the decisions you've made in secret, are about to become visible. Butterflies don't come to chaos. They come to peace. They land where the spirit is ready. And then we have the cricket. A tiny thing, really. But have you ever heard a cricket sing at night and felt something shift in the air? In many cultures, crickets are seen as bringers of wealth and good fortune. There's an old belief that if a cricket enters your home and starts chirping, it's singing in a blessing, that its sound is calling in financial favor, calling in protection, calling in warmth. And if you've ever tried to find a cricket in your house, you know, they don't show up to perform. They show up to remind you that blessing doesn't always come with big noise. Sometimes it hums, sometimes it hides. Then there's the spider. I know. Most people see a spider and immediately reach for something to knock it down. But hear me. The spider is a master architect. It weaves, it waits, it builds in silence. In some traditions, spiders are symbols of wealth because of their ability to create something strong and beautiful out of nothing but thread and patience. When you see a spider, especially one weaving a web in your home, ask yourself, what am I building? What am I patiently waiting on? Could it be that wealth is being spun in the background while I'm busy focusing on what's in front of me? Now, let's talk about cats. Not stray cats begging at your door, but the ones that just show up out of nowhere, sit by your window, stare into your home as if they've known you for years. Cats have long been believed to be guardians of spiritual thresholds. They sense energy we cannot. When a cat visits, it's often a sign that your home has become a place of spiritual wealth, peace, alignment, favor, and their presence suggests that something valuable is present or about to be. Bees are another one. You see a bee hovering outside your window, or one gets inside and won't leave. It's not just about flowers Bees are symbols of productivity, community, and divine order. In spiritual language, bees represent sweet provision, the honey, the harvest, the overflow. And if a bee enters your home, it could be signaling that your work is about to pay off, that something you've been laboring toward quietly, diligently, is about to blossom into blessing. Birds, especially when they fly into your home or perch just outside your window, are often seen as messengers from the divine. Depending on the culture, different birds carry different meanings. But the consistent thread is this: birds represent elevation, vision, and provision. They soar above what we can see. And when they come low, when they enter our space, it's often to deliver a message we've been waiting to receive. And finally, the lizard. Another creature that might not look like a blessing, but don't be fooled. Lizards are survivors. They adapt, they observe, they thrive in the harshest of conditions. In spiritual terms, when a lizard appears in or around your home, it's a sign of resilience, and sometimes a message that your adaptability is about to be rewarded, that you've withstood the heat, the pressure, the waiting, and wealth is near. These are the sacred eight, not because they wear crowns or glow in the dark, but because they come when you're ready. They show up when your atmosphere has shifted, and they don't visit empty-handed. They come carrying signs. They come carrying wealth. Don't chase them away. So now we know these animals don't come by chance. They come to serve you, you see. They come with a presence. They carry an energy, a spiritual vibration that signals something is shifting. And when they show up, especially uninvited, especially in your home or right outside it, the question isn't, why are they here? The real question is, how do you respond? Because that moment, when the frog's sitting quietly near your doorstep or the butterfly floats in and hovers around the living room, is not just a coincidence. It's an invitation, and how you respond determines whether that moment passes like a breeze or whether it becomes a turning point, whether that wealth energy settles or slips away. But here's the problem: most of us don't recognize it. We're trained to react instead of receive. A spider on the wall, we swat it. A bird flies inside, we panic. A cricket chirps, we try to find it and throw it out. That's how we've been conditioned. Anything that enters our space unexpectedly gets labeled as a nuisance, a threat, a pest. But what if, just what you thought was a pest was actually a prophet? You see, there's a right way to respond, a spiritual posture, a level of awareness. And it doesn't require rituals or strange behavior. It simply requires a shift in perspective, a little pause, a breath, a moment to ask yourself, is this just an insect, or is this a sign? Is this a random visit, or a divine reminder? And from there, your actions become intentional. If a frog shows up at your front door, don't rush to drive it away. Frogs are drawn to water, yes, but spiritually they're drawn to places where growth is happening, environments that are ripe for transition. Instead of shooing it off, speak a word of welcome. Thank you for coming. I receive the blessing you carry. It might sound silly to someone listening from the outside, but heaven hears faith like that. It echoes, it activates. A butterfly enters your room? Pause. Notice how your spirit feels. These creatures symbolize breakthrough, transformation, rebirth. Their wings don't just carry them, they carry messages. You don't have to trap it or force it out. You don't even need to touch it. Just honor the moment. Be still. Let it bless the space. That presence alone may be sealing something in your life that prayer alone couldn't quite reach. Spiders? Oh, they're the most misunderstood. Their webs seem messy to us, but to them it's sacred structure. It's divine design. You see it in the corner of your ceiling and immediately think, let me clean that up. But maybe, just maybe, that web wasn't a mess. Maybe it was a mirror, a reflection of how something intricate and valuable is being built in your life. Quietly, silently. If a spider appears, take it as a reminder. Things are being woven behind the scenes. Something you can't see is getting ready to catch what's meant for you. When a bird flies in through the window, don't scream, don't run. Birds come from the skies. They move between the heavens and the earth. When they enter your space, they often bring clarity, foresight, sometimes even direct messages from realms beyond ours. Open your windows, gently guide them, yes, but while you do, speak what you're hoping for. Declare what you've been believing for. It may be your moment to say, I receive the news you bring. I'm ready for what's next. And those little creatures, the bees, the lizards, the crickets, each one deserves a pause. You don't need to worship them. You don't need to keep them as pets. But don't dismiss their appearance. Respond with reverence, with humility, with openness. And maybe you're thinking, really? Just saying thank you to a bug is going to bring me wealth? Let me be clear. It's not about the bug. It's about what you're agreeing with, It's about what you're signaling back to the atmosphere. When you acknowledge a spiritual moment with spiritual awareness, you open doors, you align your heart, you tell the unseen realm, I'm paying attention, I'm ready. Send what you have for me. This is why people miss the moment. They're too busy, too logical, too distracted. But when you slow down, even for a second, and treat that animal's visit as more than just nature doing its thing, you shift the whole dynamic. You make space for divine movement. There's something I want you to understand, something I need you to hold deep in your spirit. These moments, when animals appear in or around your home, they are not random. They're not just nature doing its thing. These are not coincidences. They are signs. And when we start seeing them that way, everything changes. Too often we say, that's just strange, or what are the odds? But what if the odds aren't the point? What if heaven is trying to get your attention in the gentlest way possible? What if what you're calling odd is actually orchestrated? What if that spider in the corner of your ceiling is whispering, get ready, something is being built? What if that bird tapping on your window is heaven's way of saying, look up, the answer is closer than you think? What if the very thing you think is small, annoying, even meaningless? What if it's the beginning of something big? You see, we're always looking for thunder. We expect wealth to show up in bold, dramatic fashion. We expect it to knock loudly, show up dressed well, and announce itself. But the truth is, God rarely works that way. The breakthrough you're waiting for often comes as a whisper first, a subtle sign, a shift in atmosphere. And many times it's disguised as something so simple, so ordinary, that if you're not spiritually alert, you'll miss it. I've learned over the years that the spiritual realm doesn't always speak in sentences, it speaks in symbols. And animals are powerful symbols. They have been from the beginning. They don't speak our language, but they move in rhythms that match the divine. When they appear, especially in unexpected places or moments, it's not just biology at work. It's alignment. Have you ever had something show up that made you pause for a moment? Not in fear, but in wonder. A ladybug landing on your hand, a butterfly circling above your head, a frog sitting calmly near your door. You notice it, you feel something stir, but your mind talks you out of it. That's nothing, you tell yourself. But your spirit knew. Your spirit recognized it. And the problem is, too many people shut that feeling down before it can bloom. They trade wonder for logic, discernment for doubt. But wealth doesn't always make sense before it arrives. Sometimes it shows up looking like nothing at all. This is why we have to train our hearts to see differently, to move through life with spiritual eyes wide open. Because when these animals visit, they often come right before something is about to happen, not after. The sign doesn't come as confirmation, it comes as preparation. It comes as a spiritual announcement that your season is shifting. And if you ignore the sign, you may not miss the blessing entirely, but you might delay it. Or worse, you might not know how to respond when it comes. There are people listening right now. You've had a spider web show up on your front porch, and something told you, this means something, but you brushed it away. You heard a bird chirping outside your window every morning at the same time, and something inside you stirred, but you didn't know what to do with it. That wasn't just noise. That was a signal, a gentle, divine tap on your awareness, saying, wake up, look, pay attention. Because wealth, real wealth, isn't just about money. It's about timing. It's about being in alignment with the opportunities, the ideas, the relationships, the moments that bring overflow into your life. And when these animals visit, they're not giving you the blessing itself, but they are giving you a chance to recognize the door is opening. They are saying, get ready, the shift is near. But if you don't see the visit as a sign, you won't treat the moment with reverence. You won't posture your heart with expectation. Let me tell you, expectation is a magnet for miracles. You want to know what pulls wealth into your life faster than strategy, faster than hustle? A spirit that believes, a soul that's ready, a home that's in order, an atmosphere that welcomes rather than rejects. So when these sacred creatures show up, don't swat, don't dismiss, don't chase them away. Instead, stop, still yourself, speak softly to your own heart and say, I see it, I receive it. I don't know exactly what's coming, but I know something is. That posture changes everything. It shifts your spirit from fear to faith. It opens the door to divine timing. It draws in exactly what you've been waiting for, not because of superstition, but because of sensitivity. You've become sensitive to the ways the divine moves. You've learned to interpret the signs. And that, my friend, is where the breakthrough happens. That's where the blessing rests, not in chasing after the next big thing, but in recognizing the small sign that says the big thing is already on its way. So when the sign comes, don't ignore it. When the messenger visits, don't chase it away. Now that we've talked about how these sacred animals carry messages, how they don't come randomly, and how important it is to respond with sensitivity, not fear, it leads us right here to this final point, and it's one that I believe might be the most personal, the most practical, and the most powerful. We need to make our homes a place where wealth feels welcome. And I'm not just talking about a clean space or pretty decor. I'm talking about the kind of atmosphere your spirit carries, the energy your home releases when someone or something enters. Because let me tell you, just like people can feel whether they're welcomed or not, so can divine signs, so can those sacred visitors, so can the energy of abundance. Some homes are filled with things, but they're empty of peace, full of noise, but void of harmony. And the truth is, wealth, real, spiritual, sustaining wealth, doesn't settle in places of confusion. It doesn't flow freely in homes full of resentment, bitterness, tension, or fear. It visits, yes, but it doesn't stay. It hovers, but it won't make a home in a space that's closed off, cluttered, or chaotic. That's why aligning your home with prosperity isn't just about waiting for a butterfly to fly through the window. It's about preparing an atmosphere where that butterfly would want to stay. It's about shifting the environment from the inside out so that when the signs show up, they're not just received, they're drawn in. And this is where it gets real. What is the atmosphere of your home saying? What are your walls echoing back? Because the spiritual realm responds to more than our words. It responds to the posture of our space. Some people say, why don't blessings visit me? But the better question is, if they did, would they feel safe to stay? Sometimes it's not about working harder. It's about clearing the spiritual clutter, removing the heaviness, letting go of the anger that lingers in the air. You can clean your kitchen top to bottom, but if the room is thick with unspoken frustration, the energy remains off. You can burn candles and play soft music, but if you haven't forgiven, if you haven't surrendered, if you haven't spoken peace into your space, then all the outer stuff won't matter. So I want to ask a man who's speaking here, how do you achieve peace? What makes you achieve peace? So that other people can move forward and smoothly flow. Let's get clear on who you are and how you achieve peace. Then all the outer stuff won't matter. Because wealth, true wealth, isn't drawn to appearance. It's drawn to alignment. Some of the most blessed homes I've stepped into weren't fancy. They didn't have marble floors or high ceilings. But the moment you walked in, you could feel something. Peace. warmth, openness. You felt safe to breathe there. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of space that attracts blessing. That's the kind of space animals visit and linger in, not just pass through. You want more wealth in your life? Start by checking the posture of your heart. Start by inviting peace back into your conversations. Bless your home with your words. Speak life into every room. Thank God for what you have, even before the more arrives. That kind of gratitude changes everything. That kind of faith turns a house into a sanctuary. And it doesn't just draw people, it draws the presence of divine provision. Let me give you something practical. When one of these animals shows up, don't just recognize it as a sign. Treat it as a guest. If a butterfly flies in, don't panic, let it stay a moment. If a cricket chirps in the corner of your room, pause before you try to find it. If a spider builds a web in a corner, stop and ask yourself, what's being woven right now in my life? These are not pests, they're partners, silent, sacred symbols that wealth is on its way. But if your home is filled with constant anxiety, if your words are always negative, if you're tearing yourself or others down every day, that's like putting up a spiritual do not enter sign. Wealth can't flow where there's constant resistance. You have to create a flow, a channel, and that begins with peace, with order, with gratitude, with love. This doesn't mean you need to be perfect. No home is. But when you make a choice to honor your space, to speak life in it, to bless it, not just with sage or symbols, but with a pure heart and a grateful spirit, you start to notice something. Things begin to shift. People feel different when they enter. Ideas flow easier. Opportunities start finding their way to your door. And those sacred animals, they don't just show up once and disappear. They begin to return. Because now your home isn't just a house, it's a haven, a resting place, a beacon that says, abundance is welcome here, peace lives here, purpose is protected here, and wealth is safe here. So don't wait until the blessing knocks. Prepare the space now. Open the windows of your heart. Sweep away the doubt. Make room for the miracle. And the next time one of those messengers shows up, it won't just be a surprise. It'll be confirmation that your home, your spirit, is finally in alignment with the wealth that's been on its way all along. Don't chase it away.